So I told you last night that I had reread Where the Red Fern Grows over the weekend, and it did not hold up. To begin with, I am kind of a dingbat, and I had forgotten the whole point is that he has these two dogs who are hunting dogs. They're hound dogs. They're out hunting raccoons. And I was like, well, I don't love that because I like raccoons. And as far as I could tell, like, he wasn't eating the raccoons. It was just for their pelts, which I didn't love. And then half the time, what he needed to do to get the raccoon out of the tree once the dogs had treed it was to cut the tree down. And I'm like, cool. So you're killing a raccoon and killing a tree. Super useful and good. Also, if you take a look at the cover, this is the cover that we all know and love, right? There's the two dogs. Neither of those are coonhounds. And they're certainly not like red coonhounds, which is how they're described. Like, how did we miss that the entire time? Like, those just look like labs to me, and that one is absolutely a black lab. Now, as for the writing style, here was a great passage that just illustrated how I didn't like it. So this is their first big hunt. They have treed a raccoon, and the boy is like, oh crap, they have treed the raccoon in this giant tree in the woods. It had taken me quite a while to find a name suitable for the big sycamore. For a while, I had called it the chicken tree. In some ways, it had reminded me of a mother hen hovering over her young in a rainstorm, its huge limbs spread out over the small birch, ash, box elder, and water oak, as if it alone were their protector. Next, I named it the giant. That name didn't last long. Mama told us children a story about a big giant that lived in the mountains and ate little children that were lost. Right away, I started looking for another name. One day, while lying in the warm sun staring at its magnificent beauty, I found the perfect name. From that day on, it was called the Big Tree. I named the bottoms around it the Big Tree Bottoms. Way to go, kid. It was also just poorly edited. There were a couple of times where, like, someone will say, oh, our dog has treed this raccoon 10 times. And then 3 pages later, he's like, no one's ever treed that big raccoon. Or when he's saving up to buy Old Dan and Little Ann, we're told over and over and over again that they're $25 a piece, so he has to save up $50. And then he gets them, and someone is like, well, it sure must have taken you a long time to save up $40. And he was like, yes, this is very simple editing. And granted, maybe further editions of this book, because this is obviously an old one. This one was published in like 89, I think. But this is, at the time, it was like the 68th printing of this book, and they still had errors like that throughout. Also, he mentions huckleberries several times, and they're in Oklahoma. There are no huckleberries in Oklahoma. That's just not a thing. And there were several, like, very cringy, religious-y, like, it was God who blew the tree down so I could get the raccoon. It's like, ugh. I asked Mama, and she said that the Lord works in mysterious ways. Also, I don't want to fault a kid for crying because, like, I think it's perfectly fine to cry, but this child cries so often during the book. Like, a single thing happens and he's suddenly in tears, but he won't let his mom, like, give him a hug because, like, that's not masculine. Again, like, poorly edited, makes no sense. I know a part that had really stuck with me from reading it as a child is when those, like, jackass kids, they're out, like, on a competition or something, and the one kid falls on the axe and dies. I had in my mind, like, in my memory, those, like, bullies were a much bigger part of the plot. We don't even know they exist until page 124, and on page 146 is when the other one dies. Like, a real character arc. This has been your presentation of Tori shitting on books that we loved as children, and it turns out that they suck as adults. I don't know if this is going to be a series that I can keep doing because I am so deeply disappointed already.